Welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel, guys, to all of the reaction from tonight's Champions League game, the first game it was of the group stage, and yes, it's not gone well for us. I think coming into this game, we didn't really want to give up before it even started. You know, as fans, you always want to try and go into the game, hope for the best, but I think we all saw this result coming. It's Bayern 3, Barça 0. We were completely outclassed. There's no two ways about that. They were far, far superior to what we were able to do on the night. What does all this mean? And what conclusions can we take from tonight's performance? We are going to be talking about it all and trying somewhere to find some positives. Let's get to it. Come on. Because I do have to say, in terms of the starting lineup from Ronald Koeman, there was not a lot of surprising choices in there. It was Ter Stegen. He did indeed, in the end, go with the back three. Araujo, Eric Garcia played instead of Longley. That was the only difference to what I expected. Piqué there in the back line. Sergio Roberto played at right back, with a half-fit Jordi Alba at left back. De Jong, Busquets and Pedri, with Luke de Jong making his debut and Memphis Depay up front. And I do have to say, first of all, we had a good 5 minutes. At the start of the game, the first 5 minutes, we were okay. We were showing a bit of energy, we were getting the crowd involved, we were looking quite hungry, and almost like we believed that we could do something. But then after that 5-minute period, it all just vanished. It was almost like then, okay, we gave it a go, we showed Bayern that maybe we were up for this, but now we're just going to sit back. And then it was almost a case of just waiting around, waiting for Bayern to score that first goal, then the second, then the third. It was almost a case tonight, I feel, and it really hurts to say this as a Barca fan, but we accepted our fate. We were almost out there tonight saying, you know what, we're going to get beat anyway. That was the feeling that I got. And again, that comes from the coach. The coach will be in there giving out the message, telling the team how to think, organising the mentality going into a game like this, and it just felt as though tonight it was all about damage limitation, which in the end, we failed anyway. Because within about 20 minutes or so, Bayern certainly started to find their rhythm, despite the best efforts there of Ronald Araujo. I thought today, in our defence, he was the standout figure by a country mile. He was putting challenges in, he was putting his body on the line. He was somebody out there tonight who was just going for it. He wasn't really too worried about maybe conceding a foul, even conceding a penalty, because he was firmly focused. Whatever I've got to do to defend my colours, I'm going to do it. And you've got to put real credit to him tonight there for wearing that heart on his sleeve, and he really did try his best to stop Bayern. But like I say, 25 minutes gone, we were so busy sort of tracking the runs there of Lewandowski, of Sane, like I say, Musiala, all of these attacking players, that actually we left Thomas Muller all on his own. He had space on the edge of the area, he lines up a shot, and you've got to say, it was actually very unlucky, that opening goal. It ricochets there off Eric Garcia. There's nothing Ter Stegen could do. But once Bayern had that lead, it was done. It was over. There was never any fighting spirit. There was never even a change at all in mentality or formation or mindset. It was exactly the same, and it was almost again, okay then, let's stop the next goal. It was never about coming back into this game. It was never about trying something different. We stayed the same all the way through, especially that first half. And Bayern, they were going through third gear. And I think actually, guys, the most frustrating part of this game for me is because obviously we expected most of this, but actually when you look at that first half, there were opportunities there. There were spaces in Bayern's defence that if we'd have actually attacked them properly, had the right players out there, we could have targeted them. Alba had a huge amount of space. They gave Sergio Roberto a mile of it. They basically left him on his own there out on the right-hand side because Alphonso Davies knew that if Roberto got the ball, he could still give him 5 or 6 yards and still catch up to him. They were not worried about Roberto. Bayern basically stood up today and said, you know what, Roberto, Alba, Luke de Jong, we don't care. You can have that space because you ain't going to do nothing with it. Luke de Jong in behind there had an absolute acre of room to run into, but there's no pace there. Let's be honest here, there is absolutely no pace. And I just don't really understand why Koeman thought tonight of all nights would have been the kind of night there to play Luke de Jong. I know that he's limited with his options, but he did nothing. He was a passenger throughout the entire game. And it said it all, really, that when Sergio Roberto there was subbed off in the second half, he was whistled by the Camp Nou crowd simply because of how woeful he was in this game. But Koeman, wanted to start him. Now, in the second half, Musiala continued to cause Barça all kinds of problems. I do have to say, if I had to pick out one Bayern player, it would be him. 18 years old, he's playing from the right. He can also play from the left. He looks like an absolutely brilliant young player. The ball was stuck to him there, manoeuvring around our defence. Really unlucky he was not to score, actually, just into that second half. He hit the post, and who was there? With a poacher's finish, instinctive finish there from Robert Lewandowski. Of course, he was going to be the first man on the scene reacting there before anyone else could. Bayern had a 2-0 lead in the game, and again, we just accepted it. Again, there was no change from Ronald Koeman. I thought maybe we'd see something there different at half-time, maybe 50 minutes, maybe 55 minutes, but no, he kept waiting and waiting and waiting, and it was only then when that second goal went in that almost he said, okay, let's forget about the game, I'm just going to play some young players. And my question would be, why did we have to wait until we were out of it? Why did we have to wait there until we were 2-0 down to say, you know what, maybe there's good quality youth on the bench. Maybe there's players who can come on here and have an impact. It was almost as though, now the pressure's off, I'll take a risk. It shouldn't be that way. Koeman should have had the bravery, should have had the heart to say to some of these players before the game, you know what, I'm going to play Alejandro Balde. Jordi Alba wasn't fit. Quite clearly from the very start, from the very word go, he was not fit. That's why he went off injured, and that's why he looked terrible when he went off. He's probably going to be out now for several weeks, and you're going to have to play Alejandro Balde, and he came on, he was fantastic, and I would look at the way that we ended that game. And yes, Bayern, in the end, scored another goal. They scored a third goal in the game. You know, obviously they were winding down, but they still managed to get another one. But the final 20 minutes of that game, it was the best spell for Barça. The crowd were excited. Gavi came on. Yusuf Demir. You look at the team here that actually finished the game, and it was the best spell for us because we were brave. Alejandro Balde was taking the ball, running at Bayern, actually trying to force something. He wasn't scared because that's what youngsters do. They play without fear. They weren't worried here about what might happen, what's happened in the past. And I just think here we would be so much more patient in this process. We know right now that we are in a difficult situation. We know that we're not where we want to be. We're not going to be able to compete with teams like Bayern this season. And we would be so much more tolerant of that if we saw these young players more frequently from start of games. Because like I say, it shouldn't have taken there until the game was done, until the game, you know, was completely over. We were 2-0 down with nothing left to gain before the youngsters then came on. It shouldn't be like that for me. And of course we do have players like Ansu Fati, Aguero, Dembele, players to come back into this team. And you think about Ansu Fati, Dembele out there tonight with the kind of space that was in behind for them. Aguero, of course, have got a bit more pace than Luke de Jong does too. We could have done more. We could have done better. It still doesn't excuse the defensive problems that we have. It still doesn't mean that we wouldn't have conceded more than 3 goals. I did think tonight, actually, that Ter Stegen played very, very well. It could have been even worse if it wasn't for some brilliant saves from him. And it's difficult. It's difficult right now to assess where we are. Because on one hand, you never want this. As Barca fans, you never want to say and accept a 3-0 defeat at home in the Champions League against Bayern Munich. That should be, in any case, a disaster. We should be here right now raging because we've lost a game like that. And not only that, but the way we did it, with no ambition, no threat, settling for defeat. But on the other hand, we knew it was coming. We know that we have limitations. We know that we have problems. But this is what I mean right now. We have to see something from our coach, from the club as a whole, to put some faith in the next generation. If we can't do anything now, which we can't, we're not going anywhere. The old guard have done it. They've been there. And now we're not seeing anything from them. They're not growing. They're not going to suddenly change overnight. So why not now look at the next generation? Try and move forward. Try and build something. And if Ronald Koeman really does mean what he says, when he says, you know what, because of me, Barca have got a future. Well, if that's the case, let's see that future. If you are so convinced in your abilities and what you've given us and what you've done for the club, let's see that now. And let's see where it takes us. We've suffered defeats, we've had humiliations, you name it, we've been through it over the past few years. So why not try something new? Because doing the same thing with the same players, starting people like Sergio Roberto over and over and over again, we've said it for years. What is the point? And it's time now to show some bravery. So indeed, guys, obviously tonight this is not the way they want to start our Champions League campaign. Again, what I would say though is what I said there in the match preview video. This is still only the group stage. You know, we haven't been knocked out of the Champions League by this defeat. What we do have to do though is gather ourselves again. We have to make sure that we go and play Benfica, Dinamo Kiev, and we have to win those games. We are now competing directly against those teams, and our fate in this group will be decided in those meetings. Please do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What did you make of this game? What did you make there of the performance, the goals that we conceded, the chances we didn't create, and what did you make there of those changes later on, the younger players who came on, who gave us more life in our performance? Please do let me know everything right now that you are feeling. Leave it in the comments, vent down there. We're all going through it, but we are together, and we can build for a stronger future if we're allowed to. So indeed, guys, I'll be seeing you soon with more videos, but until next time, as always, Visca El Barça!